Welcome back to part two of our conversation with John Arms, which we are really enjoying. Let's jump back in.
Well, thank you for what you're doing here for the fractional community and those they serve, and thank you so much for having me on today. I appreciate it.
So John, I'm curious, for someone who's thinking about taking that leap into the fractional world, but they're kind of on the fence and thinking about it, what kind of questions would you encourage them to ask themselves? When's the right time to make the change from a full-time W-2 into that fractional world?
Yeah. Great question. There's a lot to contemplate there. I think the first thing I would challenge people to think about is, are you willing to be committed? I was taught something this week in this great little thing in the Twin Cities market called the Breakthrough Table. It's a mastermind and it's fantastic. And we were talking about teachability index. And with the teachability index, I learned is your ability. What is it? Your ability to learn, number one, but then your ability to change. Most of us have a high ability to learn. The ability to change is the hard part. So that's, I think, the first thing you have to face is, am I willing to change into something that I have not done? Be an entrepreneur, be self-determined, and the effort it takes to do that, is that better than my alternative? And if you don't want to go back to corporate, yeah, it probably is. It's just there's some work to do it. But you really have to be willing to change. It's not a cognitive exercise, and it's not light. If you want to do this work, you have to work, right? It's not something you can do passively. And that's something I really coach a lot of people when I say that, is if you're thinking about doing this in between jobs, if you really want a full-time job, but you'll take some fractional work, you know what's in there? Passive. It's not proactive. You'll take it. What you're saying is, if it lands on my lap, I will do it. I can tell you right now, no $10,000 contract is going to land on your lap without work to do it. It just won't. And it's just inherently, right? That's just business in general. When you work for your corporate world, no customer showed up when you just sat in the office ready to answer the phone. So it does take work and it does take change.
John, when we talk about our clients, wearing many hats and feeling overloaded, that same situation lands on our shoulders as well as solopreneurs. And one thing that's been very helpful is finding these other tools, whether it's like legal assistance or insurance or CRM development, things that I don't want to become an expert in, obviously. And I think the community is starting to learn what are some of those helpful, enabling resources. And I'll put you on the spot, maybe to name drop just a couple. They're not exclusive, caveat there. But, just describing some of your travels, what are some of those good resources that it might be good for a fractionally curious person to check out?
Yeah, you bet. Well, the very first resource is other fractionals. If you're not doing this, you need to spend time talking to other fractionals, making connections with them, helping them grow. That is going to serve you and serve them wonderfully so. Okay, so that's like resource number one. Functional resources. When we teach it in our accelerator course, we talk about the monkey and the pedestal, which comes from Shakespeare. But the pedestal stuff is the foundational things. Pretty easy, very valuable, but you can't spend too much time on there. So one resource, got to be on LinkedIn. Got to be on LinkedIn. It's America's Rolodex. It's where business gets done. It's the Facebook of business. Just live it, right? Got to be on LinkedIn. You probably need, Legal Shield or something like that, where you kind of have your butt covered on some of those aspects. QuickBooks, great tool. These are really simple things, but you have to have them. You have to have them. You don't need as a fractional an extensive CRM. You don't need a $6,000 website. There's a lot of things you don't need. We talk people out of things all the time. And there's a reason for that. How many clients do you need in a year? Well, if it's $10,000 in it every month on a retainer, or even take it to $5,000 a month on a retainer, how many clients do you need in a year? Well, 4 is $20,000 a month. There's a $250,000 business. So 4 customers does not require a database of 20,000 people and just massive amount. It's much more laser focused stuff than it is broad. So those are a couple resources. But in Voyager U, Jason is the pragmatist and I'm the other, whatever that is, right? And so I spend a lot of my time instructing and helping people on mindset. You got to get your mindset in a good place to do this. And so a great resource for that is The Go Giver by Bob Burke, the NCG Factor by Larry Kaufman. These are exceptional tools. I'm proud of our resource, Voyager U. Like that's going to get you going. But The Go Giver, Atomic Habits, it's mental tools. It's mental space. That's where the victories come from. Systems are great. Tools are great, but they're not the thing.
Hey, John, I want to bring it back to the work, this fractional work between, and Corey and I always talk a lot about the relationship between sales and marketing. And I wonder if you would talk about the relationship between fractional sales and fractional marketing. That is, how, from we're in the weeds a little bit in a business. Tell me what your experience is, what you think we should be thinking about, so that we don't run into that very typical, conflict that can happen between those. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that conflict always drove me nuts. I just never understood it my whole life. I'm like, why is there a conflict here? It makes absolutely no sense. Be that as it may, I think it was said, I can't remember what book was writing about it or who wrote about it, but I think the primary difference still holds for a fractional marketer and a fractional sales leader. Marketing is one to many, sales is one to one. It's a good way to think about it. Now, here's the thing. You have to be married. You have to get along. You have to work together because your one to many person is going to say, hey, Dave, here's many leads from our work in marketing, right? And then Dave's going to say, geez, I have my skills and craft to work with those people and help solve their problems. So maybe in a sense, marketing is more macro and sales is more micro, more focused, more intimate. Maybe that's another way to look at it. But those two have to come together. I hate the fact that decades were spent where sales and marketing were at odds with each other. I mean, can you even count how much money was wasted from that dynamic? It's ridiculous. So where I see it working, and how I practice is I am lockstep with my client's sales team. I'm meeting right after this with the new client and their sales team because we're friends and we have to watch out for each other. What's true about fractionals, we have to watch out for the person to our left and right, is true about you and your clients. So simple. We all learned this in kindergarten.
Playing in the sandbox together. Right. I think we got time for one more question. You guys, no?
Just one general question. I'd love to learn a little bit more about the Voyager University just generally. So if I was a fractional wanting to learn how to become a fractional, can you talk to me a little bit about what I would learn in that type of program?
You bet. So what Voyager U, we have 2 major products, and one is we teach you how to become a fractional professional. It is your strategy, it is your plan, it's how you go from this fractional thing is this nebulous, amorphous thing out there to I'm going to go crush this, and because it's called Fractional Accelerator, because I took that course, I am now prepared to go do so. That's what Fractional Accelerator is. The other part is because we have a love for fractionals and we have a love for small business who we serve. And so the other part is we do what's called fractional hiring. And that's where we teach companies how to bring on a fractional, and we do matchmaking and connecting and all of that. It's this wonderful ecosystem of fractionalness that lifts both sides up. So that's what's happening at Voyager U. We have a wonderful book that we wrote last year called Revolt, The Rise of Fractional and the Death of Full-Time. There's a lot of other resources in there, but that's the experience at Voyager U is I don't know fractional. I would not want to do this. Like when I had to do this in 2018, to get out the machete and hack my way through the fractional jungle, that wasn't easy. I mean, that was hard work. And we've compartmentalized and said, oh, well, since we learned how to do it, let's share. And that's what you're going to do is you're going to find the path there. So most people say it shortens their time to clients. to a few weeks and months as opposed to 6 months or a year if you do the work.
John, that was awesome. Thank you so much for being part of this. We have to wrap up. And if you're watching and as a fractional, please reach out to us on our LinkedIn group page. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love, if you're interested in participating, please let us know. We look forward to your feedback on this. And so, anyway, thank you again, John. It was fabulous, and we hope to see you all in future podcasts. Thanks.